which is where we are, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 13,855 fans, a tremendous gate, $648,115, which is a near sellout. And I think you even had your family ringside for the show. This is a big moment in your career, is it not?
Oh yeah. It was the biggest moment in my pro wrestling career. I was in my hometown, Pittsburgh, wrestling the biggest star of all time with my family there. This was a huge, special moment for me.
Well, let's go back and relive it. Let's fire up the Peacock Network. Let's go to Unforgiven season 4, episode 1. I know that's silly, boys and girls. It should just be called Unforgiven 2001, but bear with us. We want you to pull up season 4, episode 1 of Unforgiven. Go to 2 hours, 6 minutes and 24 seconds. That time code again is 2 hours, 6 minutes and 24 seconds. We want you at home to go ahead and mute. Kurt's going to mute. I'm going to let the audio play. You'll hear it through our side, and then we'll take it down once we get through the recap video and just sort of tell you what Kurt was thinking as he watches this really important match. Kurt, I'm ready on my end. Are you ready on your end?
I'm trying to.
Well, we're going to do a little countdown. We'll do.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. We're ready. I'm going to do 3, 2, 1. And when I say play, we'll press play. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, play.
The main event here tonight for the WWF Championship. This has been a war. We saw what these two men did at SummerSlam to each other, but it didn't stop there.
Austin, at SummerSlam, I was nice enough to kick out of 3 Stone Cold Stunners. My God, Angle kicked out, and Austin cannot believe it. Only to see yourself get disqualified. The 3 referees Austin has taken out because you realized you couldn't beat your Olympic hero. Kurt Angle just got screamed by God out of the WWF title. Then the following night, you had your little Austin appreciation night, and again, I was nice enough to drive all the way in. Kurt Angle's driving a milk truck and supply you with some good, wholesome milk. Milkomania is running wild, and Austin and the Alliance getting humiliated by Kurt Angle. Stone Cold will not forget this night. Kurt Angle has been bitten by the rattlesnake. Oh, come on. Austin is putting Kurt Angle's gold medals around his neck. Those medals symbolize everything that Kurt Angle is about.
You said I'd never have none of these. Stone Cold Steve Austin's got 2 of them. They belong to you. I said they belong to you, Kurt. What will you do, Kurt, to get these gold medals back? Are you too proud to beg for them, Kurt? Get on your hands and knees and cry for me, Kurt. Go cry. Cry for me, Kurt. This is what means everything to me. These mean nothing to me. And if you won't beg for me, if you won't cry for me, they don't mean nothing to you. I'm the king of the world!
Kurt Angle with a weapon just hit Austin in the back of the head, and the rattlesnake is down.
Where is Kurt Angle going with Stone Cold?
I'm gonna do the same thing to you that you did to my gold medals.
Cry for me, Austin.
What?
You're pathetic. You're a joke. Come on, Austin, cry. Come on, cry, Austin.
There's one thing I want more than anything. I want a return match for the WWF title.
You got it.
When?
Unforgiven.
What?
I've been humiliated and embarrassed for the last time by Kurt Angle. I gotta whip somebody's ass tonight because I cannot wait for Unforgiven.
Wait! Oh my God! Austin just threw Kurt Angle right off the stage! Stone Cold Steve Austin has made a powerful statement!
You will not embarrass Stone Cold Steve Austin. You're a desperate man, Austin, because when you look at me, you know that I am the one man that in your mind can beat you.
Days could be numbered for the WWF champion Stone Cold.
Kurt Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to make an example out of you. What?
Stone Cold Steve Austin's out of control. That is a sick human being. No! My God, no! No! Austin makes me sick.
This belt is mine. Go back. Austin, and Unforgiven, I will walk out of my hometown the World Wrestling Federation champion. Oh, it's true. It's still true.
You just gotta imagine how Physically intense. This confrontation for the richest prize in our business will be.
The match happened 20 years ago, and I'm ready to see it right now. What a great package.
It was a great package. Those packages back then were incredible.
Unbelievable. I think that's David Sahadi's work. Or do I have that right?
Yes, Dave Sahadi was the guy back then. He was awesome.
Wait, we just got a shot of some folks at ringside. Was that your mom?
That was my mom. That's Jackie Angle.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. There's Eric.
What did, wow, look at Eric. What did your mom think of you becoming a WWE superstar? You've told us before that, you know, you came from a quote unquote blue collar family and you've been blessed beyond any expectation financially here, but now you see this adulation from all the fans. I mean, you're one of the top guys in the business. You and Austin are just definitely 1 and 2, and your mom is here seeing it. What's she think of all this?
She was so proud. She was the only one in the family that wasn't against it.
Really?
My brothers, yeah, because you know they were all amateur wrestlers, and amateur wrestling was the real deal, and pro wrestling was fake. And they weren't very excited about me joining. But my mother was like, "This is a great opportunity for you." So, you know, I took her advice and went with it. And my brothers learned to like it. They did. They're big fans now. So they just had to understand it, what the business was all about. And I did too. It took me a while though.
Man, what a hot start. You guys are already battling on the ramp.
Steve's calling all this to me, believe it or not. This is all him telling me what to do every step of the way. He's talking to me right now.
So this was not improv. I mean, this was not laid out ahead of time. This is all improv here.
This is improv. Yeah. Austin was the best at this. I was only in the business a year and a half at this point. I didn't have enough experience to be calling it in the ring. So, you know, it takes several years to get that art down.
What'd you think of that unforgiving steel ramp that you guys used to have on the way to the ring? You took some bumps on there over the years. That couldn't have been fun.
Oh, it was a pain, a real pain, like literally the worst pain I've ever had. You bump on that, it's solid. It's solid steel. No give.
Oh, I like that. The tease of I'm gonna do the kick and set up the stunner. It almost looked like a botch, but you made it work where it was not. It was psychology.
Yeah, it was Austin's idea. He was great at this stuff.
And then you catching him with a Thez press. Is that the first time you've done a Thez press right there?
Yeah, Steve wanted me to give it back to him because he did it to me all the time. So I said, all right, I'll do it. He called that in the ring.
Hypothetically, did anybody ever try to do a Thez press in amateur wrestling?
No, nobody ever tried. If they did, they'd probably get thrown on their head.
It's just so great. You know, wrestling fans are like, oh, Thez was such a great amateur. And it's like the move named after him you would never do in amateur wrestling. Leave my feet on purpose? I don't think so. Man, this is so fun to go back and watch. Do you ever watch old footage of old matches like this? And like that
every once in a while, and it brings back a great feeling because this is when the business was really fun and exciting for me. I was new to it and everything was new every week. I just had so much fun. You know, I told you in other episodes, I was like a little kid in the candy store. I couldn't wait to see what was next. You know, I'd go in that store and I'd pick my candy and I'd keep on picking it and I'd have more options than I ever imagined. And it was just exactly like that. I mean, you know, the writers were on par with me. They knew my character. They knew how I spoke. We just all had great chemistry together, even the wrestlers.
You know, it's got to be rewarding and maybe even surreal to be you and watch a match like this, where it's like, you know, you've accomplished so much, but you being you're this humble guy who just, I'm just trying to make a living and take care of my family. But you look back at this stuff and it's got to be like, and I know it was just a blur, right? Because you do so much so fast. Like, this is a big show, but guess what? You're on another show tomorrow night. The very next night, you're in another town doing another big show. And it all probably just blurs together. But then you go back and watch stuff like this, and it's got to be like, man, shit, we did some pretty big stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is all blurred together. But when you go back and watch these things, you realize how special they were, especially at that particular moment.
I couldn't help but notice when we talked about your mom and her support, that hit you in the feels a little bit. That got you a little emotional talking about mom and her support. That's cool of you to share that with us today.
Well, she's the only one in my family who has passed on that I really had a hard time with dealing with her death. I didn't have that difficult of a time dealing with my dad's death or my sister's death, even though it was my sister. Not as much as my mom, because my connection with my mother was incredible. We just had the tightest connection that anybody could ever have. And I never forgot that.
Well, I'm sure she's super proud of you now, even today, looking down, watching us record a silly podcast. And
You're absolutely right, Conrad.
so you said your brother wouldn't. Oh, nice. You said your brother wasn't all that into wrestling and wasn't all that supportive, but here he was front row ringside. Is this really the first time he got to see it up close?
Yes. All my brothers, I think there were 4 of them there, and, they all came out to see it. By this point, they were fans. So when I started training, I trained for about 6 to 8 months before I got on TV. My first year, my rookie year was 2000. They started becoming fans at that particular time because they accepted me. They accepted that I did it and I was going to continue to do it. So they might as well go along for the ride.
We got referee Earl Hebner in there. Where was Hebner amongst your favorite WWF referees?
Actually, he's my second favorite. Believe it or not, his son Brian was my favorite. Brian had a gift. He was actually the third worker in the ring. This kid, his knowledge of wrestling and psychology, he would come up with ideas for us. He wanted to know every spot of every particular match that he refereed. He wanted to know everything so that he could relay it to us if we forgot. So he was invested in the whole match. He didn't just come up and say, "Hey, what's the finish?" And that's usually what the refs do.
Right.
But Brian wanted to know the whole thing.
So in a match like this, where it's the main event, it's on last, your only real, you threw Austin off the stage. Your only real parameter here, I assume, would be, guys, we only have so much satellite time, right? As far as a time constraint. Cause you're on last. You don't have to worry about anybody else's matches.
No. And I don't know when the satellite time goes out. I don't know if we had a limit or if Vince gave us ample time to have this match. So I'd imagine that the show might've been light because we went pretty long here.
Yeah, you did. And the actual runtime on the show, at least on Peacock now, is 2 hours, 37 minutes and 50 seconds. So it feels like there would have been a little more time, which it brings me to the next point of, was this match, do you think, originally scheduled to go longer? It already went, oh, look at you flipping him off. Oh, wow. And the fans are into it, man. They were ready to see that hardened edge of Kurt Angle. No more Mr. Nice Guy here, huh?
Yeah. What's crazy is when I started wrestling, Austin's the reason why I started. I was intrigued by his character and what he did. And I always wanted to be him, even though I never could be Stone Cold Steve Austin. But that was the kind of character I wanted to be. And I ended up being the complete opposite. So when I got to be a babyface wrestling Austin, I became Austin-esque.
Did you even drink beer here? There's no way you drank beer here.
I had a couple beers with Austin after the shows where we would celebrate when we were both baby faces. So every once in a while I had a couple beers with Austin. I actually refused it. And Shane pulled me aside one night and said, "Hey, don't refuse a beer with Stone Cold. He's going to get offended." So I had to go back in and say, "Steven, I'll take that beer." And I would drink a beer with him after the show. And so Shane smartened me up and said, "You don't refuse a beer when Austin offers you it."
Like, DDP's super health conscious too. I think the only alcohol he drinks, if he ever drinks, I still have like a shot of tequila or something. So the idea that you're like, "Yeah, give me a big old beer," it's like, I don't see that at all.
No, I didn't enjoy it at all.
And look, you've got You got bad intentions, or so it looks. Yep. Just like he pile drove you on the concrete floor and peeled up the mats to make sure that concrete was exposed. You've got the same plan here.
Yeah, it's crazy because everything Austin did throughout his career, it was like I was doing it back to him in the storyline. Everything from the river to the mats to throwing him off the stage,
milk truck, the whole thing.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, the beer truck and the milk truck. So it was really cool. I got to relive what Stone Cold did a few years back.
And of course, famously, Lawler is not on this call. It's Paul Heyman and Jim Ross. And I think that was an underrated duo. Don't get me wrong. Everybody loves JR and the King, but something about Paul Heyman and his ability to almost act as an antagonist for Jim Ross was just really entertaining.
Yeah, they both had different styles, but they were both very effective. I love both Paul Heyman and Jerry Lawler. They were both incredible.
Of course, these days a pile driver is banned, and big backdrop. That couldn't have felt good. But we just saw you earlier in the package sort of explaining how we got here. You took a pile driver on the floor. A lot of trust involved in that move, is there not?
Yes. I mean, every time Steve would give me one, whenever he would do it, which he did, I think 2 or 3 times. I think we did it twice on TV and once at a house show. But what comes to mind is Owen Hart and Steve.
Yeah.
That occurred. So, Steve's like, don't worry, I won't drop you on your head. I'm like, well, Owen probably said that to you too, so you get a little hesitant because I didn't have a good stack of dimes to begin with. I broke my before the Olympics, and probably 2 years after this occurred, I broke it again. And, so not, having to take the pile driver, I was a little scared.
Is that the most scary move? I mean, you told us before you didn't want to go over the top rope backwards. You would just go over forwards. Was the pile driver like the next scariest thing for you, do you think?
Yes, the pile driver was definitely in the top 2. I was terrified. Anything that has to do with my neck, I would cringe.
It's just, everybody's got their stuff, right? Like some guys are scared of snakes or spiders, but when you've had a neck injury, you become very aware all of a sudden. So a guy like you is like, yeah, you want me to moonsault off that big ass cage? No problem. Pile driver, how about something else?
Yeah, I'll destroy my back and my knees, but I'll save my neck.
Well, listen, there's like an old adage, right? There's no pain like back pain. And, the neck's obviously part of that. And you knew how debilitating that could be. So let's do whatever we can to avoid that at all costs. But it called for it here, and you trusted Steve, and it worked out.
Yeah, well, Steve's a pro too. I know that he wasn't going to drop me on my head because he had it done to him, and he knows what it feels like, and he didn't want me to have to experience that. So he was going to make sure he didn't drop me on my head.
That Spanish announce table has taken 2 bumps from Kurt Angle, and it's still standing.
It's not breaking today.
The match here, by the way, according to Dave Meltzer, got 4 stars, and Meltzer couldn't help but notice. Finally, after teasing the pile driver as the killer move, Austin hit it, but Angle kicked out of the pin. Even though nobody has seen pile drivers in a long time since the WWF did the unofficial ban, the crowd didn't react to them anywhere near the heat the announcers were trying to sell the move with. Do you think fans at this point maybe just didn't understand how dangerous a pile driver was?
Well, I think it was relatively new to the new fans, because it got banned for so long. And, so it's not something that we accented that it's dangerous. I think the last time they had it on TV was probably around when Austin got landed on his head with Owen Hart. I don't know if they did it after that, but it wasn't a common move anymore. So people weren't aware of what it was and how dangerous it is.
So we see Austin throwing you back in the ring here, and it looks like he's reopened the cut from the match with Van Dam. I don't know that that's the old zippity doodah. That feels like the hard way right there.
That was the hard way. We weren't supposed to. He wasn't supposed to bleed.
When you're in a match like this and you're going over, I guess I should ask, when did you find out that plans had changed and now you're going to win? Do you find out that day when you get to the building?
Well, I told you earlier that I called Vince. I came up with the idea about a week before this event. And I told him, listen, the country's hurting. People need a boost. They need someone to believe in. I'm the Olympic hero, the American hero. I'm representing our country during this difficult time. I really think that you need to give me the title, not for a long time, just to give the country a little booster shot of confidence and feeling good about who we are. And Vince, told me to talk to Steve. And if it was okay with Steve, we could do it. I called Steve and he agreed immediately. He said, that's a great idea. Let's do it. So I only held the title probably for a week. And then I gave it back. So I wasn't supposed to win the title at that particular time.
I just, I've always been fascinated by the whole, I think Bruce says plans change, Conrad. And to me, it feels like this is one of those where we could have talked about one idea, then maybe we teetered towards something else, but then we get to the day of the show and it changes again. But you knew just after the phone call with Steve, oh no, I'm going to win it at Unforgiven.
Yes, I knew right after that I called Vince back and said, Steve's on board. Let's do it. He said, okay, well, let's make this happen. And we did.
To your point, you win it here September 23rd in Pittsburgh. You would lose it October 8th in Indianapolis. So just a couple of weeks later, you're going to lose it on Raw. But I guess what I was driving at was, did you invite your family to the show before you knew you were winning and they were just going to be there because you were in the main event either way? Or once you know you're winning the belt, do you think, well, I got to have them here?
Oh, I invited my family to the event before I knew I was winning, but it just made it more special knowing I was going to win in front of them. So, either way, they already knew.
Do you smarten your mom up that, hey, I'm winning the belt tonight, or does she see it happen and you just keep her in the dark and it's a surprise?
I kept everybody in the dark. They didn't know I was going to win. I wanted it to be a surprise.
I know it sounds silly, but your family's going to come in the ring afterwards to celebrate. So I got to ask, did you guys have some sort of after show celebration somewhere in Pittsburgh, or was it just on to the next town for you?
We had dinner at Permane Brothers. I don't know if you know who Permane Brothers is.
I do.
Popular in Pittsburgh.
I know it very well.
Permane sandwiches.
I don't know why. It just tickles me that, where are we going to go after we win the world title? Going to go get some sandwiches with mom. That's fun. Did your mom have a chance to meet many of the other wrestlers? Did she have a favorite or somebody who she thought was particularly nice?
Oh, she absolutely loved The Rock and Stone Cold. So those are the two she wanted to meet. I don't know if she met The Rock that night, but she did meet Steve. She was so excited.
Did she meet Vince? How was Vince with mom?
Vince was great. He's always great with people. He's so conversational and makes people feel special. Vince is he's got a very unique gift with that, the gift of gab and relating to people and being able to get along with them and make them feel special, because he made my mom feel special.
He's just charming.
He is charming. He's a great guy.
It's no wonder he's successful. Once you get to have a conversation with him, you're like, oh, okay, I see why people gravitate to this guy.
Yeah, they do gravitate to him.
And we're talking over one hell of a match. As we said, this is a 4-star match. Meltzer would say, Austin managed to actually get to where he was under the ropes, but he never grabbed the ropes and tapped out for the title switch. Give him credit. If they were going to do it, they did it the right way. The entire Angle family and most of the babyface wrestlers hit the ring for the celebration as the show went off the air. And we just talked about a really great match not too long ago that you had at SummerSlam that ultimately didn't have the best finish, but was arguably one of the best matches of your career. But this one is right after 9/11 and you do win the title and there is a clean finish and your family's there. So emotionally, I'm sure this is your favorite of the two matches, but the actual match itself, did you prefer this one over SummerSlam, or do you think SummerSlam was a better match? This just had more meaning because of the finish.
I think this one had more meaning because of the finish, but the SummerSlam match was a lot better. For some strange reason, I don't know, because if we had more time slated, but Austin and I had a really excellent match at SummerSlam. It was one of my favorite matches of my career.
And sometimes it just clicks, right? You're not exactly sure why it clicked, but y'all were both just on
that night. It just clicked. You're absolutely right, Conrad.
Climbing up the second rope, Looks like you're trying to set up the moonsault here. Let's see what happens. Not going to get it. Did you ever do one of those spots where somebody knocked your feet out from under you and you fell on the ropes and you actually did hurt yourself down there?
Yeah. You mean the balls?
Yeah.
Yes. Your feet move and you straddle the ropes and you land on your crotch. It hurts like a son of a bitch.
In my head, there was some sort of magic trick and you figured out how to work it. But now I know, nope, just a real ball shot. Here we go.
You want to put your hands down and grab the ropes before your crotch hits it, but most of the time you miss. You can't get the rope. And yeah, it's a crazy bump, man. It hurts like a son of a bitch though.
Oh, the old double down that you've told us about. Austin's back to his feet first. Who would have been the agent on this match, do you think? Would Pat have been around here in 01 for this one?
Jack Lanza. He was Austin's favorite agent to work with. So he did a lot of work with us. That's the guy who we reported to, and he's the one that helped us with the matches. So I think Jack was more of a, supporter of Stone Cold. I think that he was more old school than everybody else, and that's why Austin liked him. And I think that Jack was probably agreeable to a lot of Steve's ideas.
Right.
And that's why they got along, is because Jack was like, it's your match, do what you want. I mean, Jack would give us certain ideas and concepts, but for the most part, Steve would put it together.
Yep. Well, sometimes that's all you need, right? Just somebody to not get in the way.
Yeah. This is the angle where I started figuring out how to structure matches. I was coming up with great ideas too with Steve, and he allowed me to do that because he made me start thinking for myself. He kept asking me, he would get stuck and say, what do you want to do here? And I'd come up with an idea. He goes, that's a great idea. Let's do it. So he forced me to start thinking about how to structure matches and to build up false finishes to the finish. And I have to thank Austin for that, because I wouldn't have learned on my own if he didn't allow me to.
So we saw Austin throw Hebner into the corner. That allowed a little bit of a distraction. You kick him right in the balls, and you do the old double down DDT, and Austin rolls out to save the title, or hopefully. He'd love to lose by count out because he still keeps the strap. But you know that, and you're not going to let that happen. What was the best part about working the Steve Austin match, and what was the worst part about working the Steve Austin match?
The best part was his intensity, and the worst part was his intensity. He was a machine. I always blew people up, and with Austin, I never blew him up, not once. And he actually did blow me up at one particular time. It was Fresno, California. I don't know if you ever remember heard Austin say, "Hey, Angle, remember Fresno?"
Yeah,
he blew me up in that match, and so it's kind of become a joke between the two of us. But I never blew him up. I couldn't. He was in incredible shape.
Let's track a little bit here.
He's blowing the snot, and look at the Angle slam. But Austin counters. Angle slam. And Austin with the Angle slam of his own. Austin's going to be the Angle with Angle's own home. 2, 3. Other shoulder up. Right shoulder up. Right shoulder up. No.
Man, how great was JR on commentary?
Oh, he was so exciting to listen to. I've always been a huge fan of JR's. Ever since I started watching pro wrestling, he's always been my favorite commentary.
Oh, I like that. He's trying to set up the pile driver, and you're just holding the leg, not letting him do it.
Just selling and holding the leg, making sure he doesn't get me up.
I mean, that works. I like it.
It does. It works. It's simple and effective. It's what you would do in real life.
Absolutely. See, trying to get out of this predicament. Oh, and we're getting a good shot of those boots there. Who used to make your boots for you back in the day?
Oh gosh, I forget. It was a popular pro wrestling boot company that used to come in at house shows and get us fitted with boots, and they would end up making them and send them to us. So I think it was something Coach, something. I forget what it was called, but it had the word Coach in it. Don't remember the name. But they were great. These shoes were awesome. I loved all my wrestling shoes. I stopped wearing them because I had a hard time moving in them. I was quicker and more effective without them. So I started wearing
Sneakers, right?
sneakers. Yeah.
Was there a favorite sneaker to wrestle in?
I usually wrestled, I forget what the brand was called. I think they were called AVI something. I forget, but they were black, and that's why I wore them, because there weren't any color to them.
Oh, here it goes.
This was a great moment for my family and I. This was right up there with the Olympics.
Really?
That really meant a lot to me. This was my new career. It was my new passion, and all my brothers knew it. It was really cool.
And look at Mom. So happy. So proud.
Yeah, that's my mommy.
And there's her baby boy. He just beat the biggest star in the history of wrestling. And you see the family jumping in the ring to celebrate. Let's listen.
Family, sisters, and nieces and nephews. And you can only wish, and you only know that Kurt's father is looking down tonight and said, "My God, my boy did it again." What a night in the life of Kurt Angle. What a night in the life of the Angle family. And what a night in the lives of the World Wrestling Federation. Finally, the WWF title is back in the WWF.
By the way, The Undertaker is in the ring hugging you. The
Hey.
Rock is in the ring. This is
Holy shit.
special.
I was shocked. I was in awe. I couldn't believe these guys came out to congratulate me. You know, they're the biggest stars in the history of the business. And I just started out a year and a half prior. And these guys are coming out to pay their respects. I was just like, wow, this is mind blowing. This is a dream come true.
Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com.
I think anybody would be flattered, beyond flattered, to have this happen to them.
It's unbelievable to think that, you know, I've got the entire babyface locker room, and it's one thing to read that in print. It's another when you're like, oh, you mean The Rock and The Undertaker?
I know.
It's a big deal. And what a moment. Let's listen to JR get us off the air here.
My God, what a week, what a night.
He was selling what a night it was for Kurt Angle, for the Angle family, for the World Wrestling Federation. And I love that line about your dad in heaven looking down saying, boy, my boy did it again. What a great line from Jim.
Jim's the best. You know, he was so articulate, and the words he used were incredible. He was the best commentator I've ever known. I think he would have been, he's done other sports, but he would be great at anything. That's how good he is.